Welcome to the How to Cut Your Hair Faster course. My name's Alex. Thank you for joining me. And today we're going to talk about how to make more money without raising your prices, without marketing for new clients. It's simply about getting more done while you're there. It's getting clients in and out in a shorter amount of time, which they're going to value, which ultimately leads to you making more money. So if you're looking to make more money without raising prices, or anything else that you might see online, then this course is for you. And this is probably not easy, but one of the most simple ways that you can start making more money right away. I've literally been putting probably over a year into this course and I've been waiting to make it because I wanted to put everything that I could possibly think of into this course for you guys. This course took me so long to prepare for because there's a lot that you can do to shave time off of your haircut times. And I don't just mean haircuts, just in general, whether it's beard trims, shaves, whatever, but we're mainly going to be talking about haircuts because that's most of what we do as barbers. So my name's Alex. I own a barbershop and I've been a barber since 2013 and I've owned a barbershop since 2015. A little bit of background on me. I went to barber school not knowing how to cut hair at all. I was one of the few people that actually had to learn, and I had really never done a haircut before starting barber school. So I learned everything I knew about cutting hair in school and then in the shop afterwards. So when I graduated from barber school, my average haircut time was 45 minutes. And then I went and started at a barbershop where the haircut time standard was 15 minutes. So I had to figure out pretty quickly that how I was gonna cut my time in basically a third. I had to do what the other barbers were doing. I had to do a haircut in a third of the time of what I was used to. And I had to increase the quality at the same time. Just because I was spending 45 minutes on a haircut as a student barber does not mean that it was turning out good. The barbers that were working around me were doing haircuts that looked way better than mine and in less than half the time. So I started to come up with a plan, and through years of trial and error, I have learned for myself what works in terms of lowering haircut times. And and as a barbershop owner, I've also been able to help other barbers who have struggled with the same thing. So not only have I been able to learn through my experience, but I've been able to see what works for other barbers in my shop as well. So this course is a combination of over 10 years of trial and error and all of the tools and techniques that I both learned through trial and error, but also through coaches, courses, and other barbers that have worked with me have led to everything that you're about to see. So let's talk about why you would even want to lower your haircut times. Well, if you're watching this video, you probably feel like you could be faster. And everybody could be faster. But I want to just start by listing all of the reasons why you may want to think about should I cut faster, right? So I believe that everybody deserves to be, you shouldn't have to be stressed about running behind all day, right? I don't think you should go to work and be like relaxed and just like take your time. And I do believe that there should always be a sense of urgency, but it's different when you're constantly running behind on your appointments. Your clients don't like it. You don't like it. The team around you, if you're working as part of a team environment, they know that you're running behind and it stresses everybody out. So you can, just by lowering your haircut times, you can reduce the stress when you're working in the shop. And I might have titled this course How to Cut Hair Faster, but it's not really about being faster. It's actually about being more efficient. It's just getting more done in less time. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're moving faster, although that does help lower your haircut times. In general, as we'll talk about later in the course, a lot of times you can just remove steps and become fast. And the result is that you finish the haircut faster. So we're not actually trying to cut faster. What we're trying to do is be more efficient. And the end result of that is going to be that we finish the haircut in less time. In other words, we finish faster. But the way we're going to achieve that is by doing the haircut or whatever in less steps. Therefore, we're going to try to be more efficient behind the chair. One key thing that I realized when I was trying to lower my haircut times is when you're trying to lower your haircut times, it is about subtraction, not addition in most cases. So, what I mean by that is if you're struggling to do a haircut in the time that you want, then in a lot of cases, it's not about what do I need to add? Do I need to buy a new tool? Do I need to try a new technique? I found in my experience, you probably are doing this in too many steps, right? You're picking that clipper up too many times. You're picking up that guard too many times. And you want to figure out what are the things in my process that I'm doing too much, right? You can even sometimes you don't even have to take things out of your process. You can just simply rearrange the order of how you do the haircut and you'll find that you finish faster, right? We'll talk about it in the cutting techniques section of the course. But when it comes to trying to lower your haircut times, a lot of times it's about what do I need to stop doing instead of what do I need to start doing. When thinking about lowering your haircut times too, you also have to consider what your clients want. In general, we live in a world now where clients value speed over the other options, right? So what that means is if you and I actually literally went through this multiple times when I was working in the barbershop when I first started out. But there would be barbers around me, right? And even when my quality improved, but my timing hadn't caught up yet, that I would lose clients to the barbers that were around me that were simply just getting the same quality haircut done, but in less time. Because if you think about it in the mind of the client, right? If you take out the fact that clients sometimes are very loyal to their barbers and they're just looking at it in terms of what do I get versus what does it cost me? And time is a cost, right? We don't think about that sometimes as barbers, but it's not just what you charge for the haircut. It's about what the total cost and the time is part of that cost. So if you are taking 45 minutes or an hour or longer to do a haircut, not saying there's anything wrong with that, right? But the person next to you or down the street is doing the same quality haircut at the same price, but they can do it in half the time. You're going to lose clients to that person, right? It happened to me and it probably happens every single day. So keep in mind that when we're trying to lower haircut times, it is also about adding value for the clients. Because if you can do the same quality while lowering the time, you just became more valuable. And now maybe clients are able to come in on their lunch break instead of after work because you're able to get them in and out sooner. And there's just a lot of things that clients really value when it comes to getting you in and out of the chair faster. Some clients do want you to spend more time on them, but I think that's a very small section of the market. There are going to be clients that feel like you rush them, but I think that in a lot of cases, if the quality remains the same or even gets better, but you're able to do it in less time, then you're automatically going to become more valuable as a barber. I think that one of the common beliefs that barbers may have, right, is that you have to choose between quality and quantity. And I think the best businesses in the world can do both, right? The best business people in the world have the mindset of and, not or. So when you make that statement of, I want to either do a good haircut or finish quickly, then you're really limiting yourself to, you have to choose one, right? And a lot of barbers say, I don't want to make my client feel rushed, so I am not going to rush. I'm not going to rush to this haircut, and I'm going to make sure it's perfect. And you know what? There are clients that appreciate that. And then you have another subset of clients that they have a simple haircut and they don't care, they're not picky, and they just want to get in and out as fast as possible. So in a lot of cases, barbers feel like they have to choose. And I don't think that that's the case. I think you should have that. I think the best business people in the world have the mindset of, and why can't you do both? Why can't you do both a good haircut and do it in a time that is good for the client. Because as a barber, I think you're being a little bit selfish if you think that I don't want to rush my clients. And a lot of these kind of beliefs that barbers hold, well, what have you talked to your client and asked them what they want? Because it's about them at the end of the day. They're the one that's paying your bills. And I can almost guarantee you that if you ask all of your clients, right, or you do, may want to do it like an anonymous survey, but if you ask them if the quality was the same, would you appreciate it if we got you out of the chair 15 minutes sooner? I could virtually guarantee you that the answer to that would almost always be yes. So keep that in mind. Keep your clients in mind when if you're thinking about whether you should even try to lower your haircut times. What do you have to lose, right? So who is this course for? I think this is important to go over. And one of the reasons I'm making this course is because I was looking for this kind of stuff when I first started, and there wasn't a whole lot of content that was super helpful when it came to how to cut faster. Because even when I was in barber school, I recognized that I was really slow. Sometimes it would take me an hour and a half to do just a simple haircut. And that's natural, right? Because as a barber student, you're learning. But I think if you've been in the industry for a while and you're not happy with where you're at in terms of haircut times, and you're one of the people I'm making this course for. This will help you as if you're a barber student still looking to cut hair. It may even be more useful to you because you don't know anything yet and you don't really have to break any bad habits. So as somebody who's been cutting for a while, it may take you longer to adapt some of the things that I'm going to cover in this course, but ultimately everybody who cuts hair can benefit from this course. But another reason that this course might be a good fit for you is these are some of the symptoms that I see on an almost daily basis for barbers that can't stay on time with their appointments. And that's really what we're trying to do, right? It's not really about just trying to be more efficient for the sake of being efficient. It's really about if you're constantly running behind on appointments, for example, you're going to benefit from this course. If your team is getting frustrated with you, if you work as part of a team, if your team is getting frustrated with you because you're not really helping out answer the phone or helping out the walk-ins that come in that have a question, you're not really helping fold towels and do things on the side the things that we need to do to keep the barbershop running. Somebody has to fold the towels. Somebody has to make sure the laundry's done. Somebody has to sweep the hair and take out the trash. And if you're constantly running behind on appointments, you're not going to be able to help with any of that. If you're struggling to do things that grow your business, like sell products or getting clients to rebook so that they come in sooner and spend more money with you, if you're constantly running behind on appointments, you're not even going to want to have those conversations because you're just worried about catching up, right? You don't even have like mental horsepower available because all of your energy is spent and you're stressed out because you're running behind. You're just worrying about catching up. So naturally, you're probably not going to be as good at rebooking and selling products if you're always running behind. I constantly see the barbers that are always running behind on appointments almost always have less retail sales, have less rebooking, and just in general, their performance overall is less than their peers. Even if they're busy cutting hair, if you're just looking at the big picture, the barbers that are always running behind on appointments are going to be performing a lot at a lower level than everybody else. Even if those other barbers are less busy, in the long run, the barbers that are able to stay on time with their appointments almost always end up performing better. A couple of the cool things that happen when you can start to lower your haircuts times is that it basically gives you more options. Right? Let's say you have 30 minutes for a haircut and you finish exactly at 30 minutes. If you think about it, if you spent the entire 30 minutes doing that haircut, you don't have time for anything else, even though you technically finished on time, right? But if you're able to finish even sooner and you're able to knock it out in 15, 20 minutes while keeping the quality high, now you have options. Like, what if somebody shows up late for their appointment? Are you going to turn them away? If you're able to knock it out in 15, 20 minutes and they're only 10 minutes late, instead of having to turn them away, you can actually take that person back and still finish on time and get your next appointment back on time. So that's one of the cool things that you can do once you start to lower your haircut times and create a gap between when you finish the haircut and when it's supposed to be done. If somebody walks in, right? Let's say you're fully booked and you have appointments coming in every 30 minutes, but somebody walks in, right? If you finish your appointment early, you can squeeze in a walk in and still finish on time if you lower your haircut times. Another thing you can do, which is one of the most powerful ways to make more money, is if you are finishing your haircut with in less than the time that you're given, now you have an opportunity to make even more money off the client that's already in your chair because you can add on services. So anytime you add on services, it takes up more time, right? Even if it's not a lot of time, it's still, if you want to hit their eyebrows with the razor, that takes a couple minutes. If they want their beard cleaned up, that's going to add a couple minutes. If you're only using the 30 minutes that you have, for example, on their hair, and then the appointment's over, and then your next one is here, you don't have time to do anything else. So you're naturally going to make less money. If you're just struggling to finish the haircut by itself on time, then you're not really going to have the opportunity, or even you're not even going to be focused on having those conversations that lead to the product sales and the rebooking, right? Because you're going to be so focused on just trying to finish on time. So I don't actually think, if you want a real ninja trick, I think you should shoot to always finish your haircuts early, right? If you're just taking somebody back at their appointment time, that is the expectation, right? That is why clients booked an appointment, because they don't want to wait in the shop all day. They want to be taken back at a certain time. They're on their lunch break. They have to get to work maybe after their haircut or whatever. It's sometimes barbers have forget these clients cannot afford to be in the barbershop all day in a lot of cases. Some can, right? Just because we're in the barbershop all day doesn't mean that they want to be in the barbershop all day. We are on their time. They are not on your time. I believe that as barbers, we have to constantly remember that we, the barbers, are here for them. If you're taking them back on time, then that's just meeting the expectation. But if you really want to add value as a barber and you want to over deliver, then I believe you want to finish the haircut sooner than what you have blocked out. And then if you can, try to take your next one back early, right? Think about the last time you went to the doctor and that they were actually ready for you and took you back at your appointment time. That was probably a good feeling versus, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I go to the doctor, it's super rare that I get taken back at my appointment time. But when I do, this is nice. But what's even better is if somebody shows up a few minutes early and you're ready for them, right? Because then that behavior has just been rewarded. Here's another tip for you. If your clients are always showing up late, it's probably because you train them to do that. If you're always running behind on appointments, you're going to signal to your clients that it doesn't matter that they have an appointment because they show up and you're not ready for them and they end up having to wait anyways. So you have punished the behavior that you want, which is showing up on time. So therefore, one of two things is going to start happening. Either they're going to stop coming to you and they're going to find somebody else who can take them back at their appointment time, or they're going to start showing up late because it's like in their mind, what's the point of having an appointment? I showed up for my appointment at 1 o'clock and it is now 1:30 and I still haven't been taken back, right? So I don't know if that's something I'm going to cover later in the course, but if you don't take your appointments back on time, you are going to start to notice your clients are going to start showing up late because in their mind, what's the point of showing up on time? He's never on time. She's never on time. So I'm just going to show up a few minutes after, no big deal. And then if you are running on time, it's going to start to compound on itself because even though you're on time, your clients are going to start showing up late because you train them to do that. So this course is going to have a ton of modules. It's really important that you watch all of them. You may need to watch it more than once. I'm literally pouring every single trick that I've ever tried or learned about in this course. There's going to be a lot. And you may have to watch it more than once in order to really soak in the knowledge. But the most important thing is that you start doing it, because if you go get through this entire course and you don't try anything, then you just wasted all your time. So you don't have to try everything I'm going to talk about in this course. Even just one of the modules, if you apply it, will help you. There's going to be a lot of information, and I highly recommend that you at least watch the through the entire course at least once, and then go back, and you're only going to retain maybe 10% of everything I talk about, and go back and refresh your memory. So here's a few more reasons why I think you should start to focus on becoming faster behind the chair, lowering your haircut times, and being more efficient. We are a service industry, and in the service industry, we sell our time. So you have to sell, the more money you will make. And there's only two ways to increase the amount of time you have to sell. Either you can work more hours, or you spend less time with each client. Either way will equate to you making more money if you stay busy. So if you don't want to work more hours, but you want to make more money, then you have to focus on, how do I get more done in the time that I have? Which means you need to focus on, how do you lower your haircut times? When you lower your haircut times, these are some of the things that start to happen. The first thing is you get more opportunities to get off your feet. So if you have problems or feet problems, lowering your haircut times, although it might seem like more work, is actually going to be better in your overall health, because you'll have more opportunities to get off your feet and to stretch your legs, and to you can get a snack or get a drink or even use the bathroom. Some barbers that are always behind on haircuts sometimes have to hold it and can't go to the bathroom because they're behind, right? And their clients are waiting for them and they're getting pissed. So if you want to be able to just take care of yourself physically, then you want on how to lower your haircut times so that you can, if you're looking to get better at making content online and you feel like you never have enough time, then you may want to think about, how do I lower my haircut times? Because like I covered earlier, if you can finish a 30-minute haircut in 20 minutes and it looks great, now you have 10 minutes to take photos and videos and post it on your social media. But if you don't have time to post and create content on social media, then maybe you need to think about, how do I create time by lowering my haircut times? And remember, you don't have to sacrifice quality to finish on time. What we're trying to do is figure out, how do we get to the end result, which is a great haircut, in less time, in less steps. But that doesn't mean just rush the haircut and cut faster just for the sake of lowering time, but reducing the overall quality, because your clients ultimately are going to care about the quality more than anything else. So you want to point, I think, where you can maintain the same level of quality. But if you're noticing that the quality is starting to dip, then you may be going too fast. And keep in mind that when a client books a haircut and the haircut says 30 minutes on your website, that is just the minimum expectation. So taking them back at their appointment time, giving them a good haircut, is just the standard now. It's not enough to just meet the standard. You have to over deliver if you really want to stand out, if you really want to stay booked. You have to think about, how do I give them they're expecting a good haircut. How do I give them a great haircut and in less time than they thought that it was going to take? It's called under promise and over deliver. So if the haircut is supposed to take 30 or 45 minutes, but you got it done in 20 or 25 minutes, the clients are going to perceive that as, one, you are a great value, because they had thought for 45 minutes and you got them out of the chair in 30. Right away they're going to think, that was awesome. But if the opposite can work against you too, if they think they're only going to be in the chair for 30 minutes and you end up taking an hour and a half, they might start to think, does this person know what they're doing? Because when you're able to do a great haircut in less time than the people around you, then people are going to perceive that as skill. This person must be really skilled in order for them to be able to do this quality in that amount of time. And one of the best ways to create value is just do the exact same thing, but just do it in less time. People will pay for speed. Thinking that your clients will to you just because you give a good haircut is a mistake. Trust me. There are other people that can do a good haircut just as good as you or better in less time. And it's just a matter of time before your clients find out about it. I think as a barber, you should have two speeds. So we're talking about how to lower haircut times, but then what I found is that each barber it should have two speeds. You have like regular, I'm running on time pace, everything's good, life is good. And then you have like, I'm running behind, I need to catch up pace. And that's when you're kind of really pushing past your comfort zone because you're trying to catch up and just get back on time. What I find that sometimes with barbers that are constantly running behind on appointments is that they only have one speed. And that's why barbers that struggle with haircuts times and they fall behind, they stay behind, right? Because they're not able to adapt their cutting style because they only have one speed. So I think if you really want to lower your haircut times, probably the if I could sum up this entire course in just one thing is that you have to be able to adapt, right? You have to have different techniques, different tools, and different speeds depending on the situation you're in. And I think you should have at least two speeds. You have your regular pace, maybe even three. You have your regular pace, your everything's good. You have your I need to catch up pace where you're still doing a quality level haircut, but you're going a little bit faster than what you normally would do. And then you maybe you on the other end of that spectrum, you have like I'm recording a video for YouTube or social media type speed, and that you can take your time, right? Because ultimately, it's if you edit it, nobody's gonna know how long that haircut really took. So really, the quality matters the most there. So you want to have maybe three speeds where you're starting on the long end of the spectrum, where you're taking your time because the quality is the most important because you're doing it for content maybe. And then you have your regular pace, normal, life's good, I'm running on time. And then you have your I need to catch up pace. But if you're always going to be behind on appointments if you don't develop new speed like a new gear like on a bike, if you want to go faster, you might want to change the gear. You have to be able to switch into a new gear when you're cutting hair if you want to be able to catch up if you start to fall behind. If you just cut at the same pace, you're going to be behind all day. I think that one of the reasons why barbers don't feel like it's possible to cut hair faster while also keeping the quality high is because they lack perspective. Ultimately, this is if you made it this far in the video, then you probably agree with a lot of what I'm saying. But what I found, and this is crazy to me, because when I started in the barber industry, I was obsessed with everything to do with barbering, right? Because I was just a barber, so that's all I had to worry about. And I wanted to become the best version of myself that I could. And so I went to every single hair show that I could. I went to barber battles. I watched YouTube tutorials every day, even in the shop. The barbers around me would be laughing at me because when I wasn't with a client, I was sitting down and I was watching a YouTube video, even right there at the front desk. I'd be watching a YouTube video and they would walk past me to check out their client. And I'd be sitting there watching a video and they laughed at me, right? And you know what? It was a little embarrassing. And I thought, why am I doing this? But then I kept doing it. And because my mindset was, I'm going to keep learning about how to cut hair until I am too busy to watch, to learn. And that's exactly what happened. In the beginning, I had time because I wasn't busy. And then I got better. And then eventually, I didn't have time to watch YouTube videos anymore. And I believe that until you're so busy at the shop that you can't sit down and watch videos to cut faster or to cut better, then that is a sign that that's what you need to be doing to get better. I will talk to barbers sometimes that are struggling with their haircut times, and then I'll ask them, I was like, so when was the last time you watched a YouTube video? When was the last time you went to a barber battle? And I believe that there is a strong relationship between how seriously somebody takes their education and their success in the barbershop. If you're not going to hair shows, if you're not going to barber battles, and you're not watching YouTube tutorials on a regular basis, of course you're going to struggle to cut hair faster. because you're not learning, you're not investing in yourself. And you might have this mindset of, well, I do enough haircuts in the shop. But the way I think about it is when you're in the barbershop, you're in the game, right? A football team will practice every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, just to play for 2 hours on the field every Sunday, right? And during the off season, they are practicing and they're working out. But us as barbers, for some reason, sometimes we don't do that. We think that I'm just gonna go to the shop and cut hair. But when you're in the shop, you're in the game, right? So what I did was I treated it like practice. I want to practice, and then when I get to the shop and I'm in the game, I'm gonna be at my best. So of course you can't cut hair faster because you haven't been to a barber battle. Where if you go to one barber battle that has a lot of barbers have what's called a fast fade type of competition, and I kid you not, I went to a barber battle one time and I saw somebody do two skin fades and in less than 15 minutes. And then when he actually finished the second skin fade early and then started lining up his own beard. And then I didn't see it myself, but in the very next barber battle, he did three skin fades in 15 minutes. So if you don't believe that you can do a good haircut in 15 minutes, it's simply because you probably haven't seen it before. I've seen people do amazing haircuts in 15 minutes. So if you don't believe that, then I suggest that you expand your horizons a little bit, go to barber battles, go to hair shows, watch tutorials on YouTube, and you will see that is not true. You can do an amazing haircut in 15 minutes. And once you realize that, and now it's just a matter of how do I do it? What are the tools and techniques that I need to use in order to be able to achieve the same thing? If you're always running behind on appointments, you are going to start to lose clients eventually, right? Because again, if you're working in a relatively big city and there's other barbershops around you, it's just a matter of time before your clients start realizing that there's other people that might be just as good as you or better. So if you want to remain competitive, and it seems like every day there's a new barbershop opening up around me, if you want to remain competitive, one of the simplest things you can do is simply just figure out, without changing anything else, how do I deliver the same thing to my clients but in less time? I do believe that there is such a thing as going too fast. I have seen barbers and I have worked with barbers that were way too fast. And that it's really difficult for me to give you a straight answer on what's too fast. But I think the best way to think about it is if you are sacrificing quality for the sake of lowering the time, getting the client out of your chair faster, then you're going too fast. If the clients aren't satisfied with the haircuts that you're giving them, you're probably going too fast. And this will, because people that cut hair really fast, and this is a problem in like mission-based shops where basically the faster you cut, the more you make. And eventually barbers start to realize this, so they start rushing through their haircuts and they start taking clients in between appointments. And I've worked with barbers that have done 5-minute haircuts. Believe me, they're out there, right? But the problem is, in the short term, you can make a lot of money. But in our business, the most important thing is client retention. Because if you're not retaining clients, then you're always going to be dependent on new clients coming in the door or walk-in clients. And so you will get them in your chair, you'll rush them out real quick in 5 minutes, and then they don't come back, right? So you're not going to make money in the long term by rushing clients out of your chair. What you want to do is find a balance between how do I deliver the highest quality of haircut possible in the shortest amount of time. But if your quality starts to dip because you're focusing too much on time, then you will pay for it in the long run. These are some of the try to do both. Quality and quantity is the answer. You don't have to choose. You can do both. Another belief that I hear from clients is I don't want my clients feel rushed, right? And I'm gonna tell you a secret. Most clients don't want to be in the barbershop all day, especially people that have to get back to work, are professionals that make good money. they don't want to be in the barbershop hanging out with you all day. There is a section of clients that I think that does want you to take more time on them. But the majority of clients in the world that we live in now want to get a haircut in as little time as possible so that they can go on about their day. It's not like in the day where people used to hang out in the barbershop for hours and hours. No, people want to get their haircut and get out. They want to go do something else. So you know if you're rushing your clients, if they feel rushed, is if they either tell you or they don't come back. So many barbers like try to read the minds of our clients. And the best way to know what your clients want is just to ask them, would you like it if I give you the similar quality haircut in just a little bit less time? Does it, if you finish a haircut in 15, 20 minutes, did it feel like I was rushing to you? And they'll be honest with you. Another belief I hear around cutting hair is I'd rather charge more and cut less. Well, so that can work too. But the problem with that is that the higher on the price spectrum you go, the smaller the market is going to become for the amount of people that are willing to pay. So you have to be very, very good at marketing and branding in order to have less price sensitivity when it comes to your pricing. So basically, if you're very good at marketing and you are well known, then you can almost charge whatever you want. But the problem is that the amount of people that are willing to pay $100, $200 for a haircut, the market is smaller. So can you do it? Yes, but you have to have incredible marketing and branding, and you have to have an amazing reputation in order to be able to charge those kinds of prices. And you have to realize that the amount of people that are willing to pay that is very, very, very small. So what I want to do as a barbershop owner is I want to appeal to as many people as possible by keeping my prices not near the bottom, but somewhere in the middle so that we can reach a very broad base of clients that can afford what we're charging. We don't want to be like the economy barbershop. We don't want to limit the available potential market of clients. And unless you are booked solid, you may have a hard time staying busy if you raise your prices. And again, and if you're not retaining clients, then you will find it hard to raise prices and make the same amount of money while doing less work. So me, I'd rather focus on the opposite end of the spectrum, which is how do I just do more with the time that I already have? That I'm already here, I'm already going to be here in the shop for 9, 10 hours. And so how can I just do 3, 4 more haircuts today as opposed to trying to figure out how do I get everybody to pay me $100? I'd rather just focus on getting the clients in and out with a great haircut in a reasonable amount of time than trying to figure out how am I going to find somebody that's willing to pay me $100 or more for a haircut. So that I want to break for you guys is if you might be thinking, well, especially when we get into the cutting techniques portion of this course, you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's not how so and so on YouTube does it, or so and so on Instagram or whatever does it. And what I want to say to you guys, which should be pretty obvious, or maybe you haven't considered this before, but I have a YouTube channel. And I have one for myself and I have one for the barbershop. And what I can tell you is that what you see on YouTube is not how people cut hair in the shop. It may come as a shock to you, but that's the reality. Especially if you see a video where they're doing a voiceover and they don't have somebody helping them record. Those videos are a little bit harder to record because when somebody's sitting in the chair and you have a camera on a tripod, even if it's a wide angle lens, the second that you turn them, their head moves out of the frame. So that's why a lot of times you will see barbers on YouTube or even on social media that will do one side of the haircut. They're only going to show you one side, right? That's because they don't have any help in terms of like moving the camera around. So they do one side and they show you how to do one side, and then off camera, they do the other side. So it might appear like this is the way to do a haircut, but that's not how they would probably do the haircut if they weren't recording it. Also, another thing to keep in mind is if some of our videos are we're explaining what we're doing while we're doing it, and that slows you down. So what might take 10, 20, 30 minutes regular speed at a barbershop might take us an hour or more to record because we're explaining all of these steps as we're doing them. And that ultimately is going to be adding time to the haircut because you also want to make sure the haircut looks good. So when you see somebody recording a YouTube video, especially when it's edited, keep in mind that that's probably not how they're actually doing it in the barbershop. Plus, everything is being recorded now in 1080p and 4K. So, of course, the barbers that are doing these types of tutorials are going to be making sure that that haircut looks absolutely perfect because they know they're going to be putting it online for the world to see. Whereas you in a regular barbershop, you may not be as picky with the way the haircut looks because it's for your client. And as long as your client's happy, then that's all that matters, right? So here's a couple of things that you're gonna get in this course. First, we're gonna talk about is a good haircut time, how to figure out what you need to be doing a haircut in because what works for us may not work for you. But I'm gonna help you figure out, well, what is a good amount of time to do a haircut in? We're also going to talk about what tools and equipment that I recommend and that I've seen people use in order to lower their haircut times. But in addition to that, we're going to talk about what I think is the best way to set up your station because this is a lot of people don't realize that simply by setting up your station in a certain way, you can lower your haircut times. We're also going to talk about cutting techniques. So these are specific things that you can do throughout the haircut so that way you can get the most amount of work done in the least amount of time. We're also going to talk about cutting techniques like revolution cutting, which is going to allow you to get more work done in less time. Consultations is another thing we're going to cover. I think it's one of the most underrated ways to save time. You can shave actually 10, 15 minutes off a haircut just by asking a couple questions during a consultation. We're even going to touch a little bit on health tips, like things you can do so that you can show up to the shop and you have energy throughout the day and you're able to actually cut faster because although it may not be that much more work to get a haircut done in less time, you might find that it will require more energy. And I'll give you a couple tips that have helped me in terms of making sure you're at your peak when you come to the barbershop for work. And then we'll also talk about how you can lower your hair, how to create a plan. Once you've gone over all of the techniques that we're going to cover on how to lower your haircut times, we're going to talk about now let's come up with a plan on how we're going to do it because you're not just going to jump from wherever you're at now to where you want to be overnight. It's going to take some time. So we're going to go over a plan on how you can create a step-by-step process in how to lower your haircut times. So that was the introduction part of this course. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. I will see you in the next module.